Let's do it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Thanks for joining me. It's going to be a slightly shorter than normal episode due to the holiday weekend and shit, but you know, it will still be a killer episode. Also, I have live shows coming up in New York and LA. Go to leecamp.com/schedule for the details. I'm throwing that in at the beginning because I always forget to mention it. But let's get to it. Trump totally seems to be losing his mind. Not that he ever had one, but you kind of knew what you were getting with him. Whereas he clearly is something, even for Trump, has become unhinged, unlocked, getting pretty weird. And of course, we're going to get into the downed pilot that's been quote unquote rescued. We're going to get into I got a bunch of stuff for you. Whatever. That was the worst. That was the worst promo of what's to come ever done. But anyway, if you haven't noticed this by now, you probably have. It was in all the mainstream media. But Trump tweeted out last night or yesterday, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day. Of course, those are war crimes, right? Going after civilian infrastructure. But he didn't give a shit. Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait. Literally, this is Donald Trump, who never curses and has apparently, fired people or removed them from positions because they cursed around him. Like, this is a guy who supposedly not into curse words, as insane as he is. And he literally posted, open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. And that's like, you see that and you think that must be like, that's The Onion, or that's someone, has hacked his account, because as unhinged as Trump is, he wouldn't say something. No, apparently this is actually him, and he has defended it and says it was a fine, it was a fine post. In fact, it was the greatest post ever made. But I have never seen, like, even for Trump, I've never seen anything look as furious and unhinged as that post. He's clearly losing it. And he might as well have just posted, we are losing. Like, something like this just screams the U.S. is losing. You do not post, open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, praise be to Allah, unless you've really lost something. Something has come unwired. And yeah, it's getting ugly. By the way, and this is not reported enough in the mainstream media, but Iran is the one who continues to say no to a ceasefire. Iran has just said no again to a ceasefire because they basically view this, A, as an existential war, but also as their chance to prove, hey, don't do this again, because we're not going to have this battle once every 6 months. And we're going to show you what happens when you do this, so that this is the last time this happens. Now, one of the biggest stories that's been ongoing, thank you everybody for being here. Click thumbs up, leave a comment. That helps. Share it. All that stuff helps. Absolutely. Click subscribe. But one of the biggest stories that you've seen in the mainstream media and everything is this downed pilot that, first of all, simply by that jet, that F-15 getting shot out of the sky, it proves the U.S. does not have air supremacy, as we've claimed. It shows, in fact, that Iran is quite capable of shooting American craft out of the air. But then on top of that, one of the pilots was lost for a couple of days, and they did these daring rescue missions to go save him or rescue him. But another thing that's not getting reported almost at all is that the U.S. likely or maybe definitely lost multiple aircraft in the rescue mission, and quite possibly multiple U.S. air personnel were killed in that rescue mission. There's been essentially zero coverage of this in the mainstream media, but here is from Dropsite News. Most of you know Dropsite by now. Excellent outlet. They do great work especially on Gaza and Iran, etc. U.S. reports recovery of downed F-15 crew members, but loses multiple aircraft. Both crew members of the U.S. F-15 shot down over Iran have reportedly been recovered alive following a 36-hour search and rescue operation conducted inside Iranian territory. The operation appears to have cost multiple American aircraft. How often are you hearing about that in the mainstream media? Like very little, because this has all been about, can we rescue this one guy? And yet, if they lost multiple other aircraft, then either pilots were killed or I suppose some of them could have been unmanned, maybe. I don't know. But and this goes with the theme that I covered from last live stream, which is the Pentagon is lying repeatedly about how many U.S. military personnel have been killed during this battle with Iran that was completely a war of aggression chosen by the United States. Anyway, excuse me. The second recovered airman, who had not been identified, reportedly evaded Iranian forces in mountainous terrain before extraction. According to the U.S. account, two MC-130J Commando 2 Special Operations Transport aircraft landed at a makeshift airstrip during the rescue, but could not take off again. Another ongoing theme you'll notice is that the everything that has happened to the U.S. air bases, U.S. air personnel, U.S. military personnel that have been killed, it's always an accident. It's all been right? It's all accidental. None of it had to do with Iran. There was a laundry fire on the battleship. They had to turn around because the toilets don't work. None of it had to do with Iran, even though Trump admitted that the battleship was attacked in, quote, 17 different directions at once. But no, none of it's Iran. It's all accidents. So the U.S. Pentagon here is saying that these aircraft landed in Iran and had to be abandoned because they couldn't take off again by accidentes. Oopsies. My guess is that very little of this has to do with accidents. My guess is that almost none of it was whoopsies. Probably almost all of it is being hit by Iranian forces. But of course, the U.S. doesn't want to admit that because we want to pretend we have air supremacy and everything. U.S. forces have evacuated all personnel and deliberately destroyed the aircraft on the ground to prevent capture. Iranian military-linked sources, however, claimed Iranian forces destroyed two C-130 MC-130 transports, two Black Hawk helicopters, an MQ-9 Reaper drone, and a Hermes 900 drone in combat. So Iran is taking credit for destroying all of those. Now, the U.S. is not saying any other air personnel or U.S. military personnel were killed during this rescue mission, but they've already been caught lying about a lot of this stuff. I covered this a bit the other day. Intercept is one of the only places I've seen cover this, that there is a massive casualty cover-up by the Pentagon hiding U.S. losses under Trump in the Middle East. The estimate is that almost 750 U.S. troops have been wounded or killed in the Middle East. An analysis by the Intercept found, but the Pentagon won't acknowledge it. CENTCOM will not acknowledge it and has only said that 15 troops. They said at least 15 troops were wounded Friday. So, but I thought it was in here, but I don't know the number that they're admitting to, but it is not nearly the accurate number. So you guys decide for yourselves whether every plane that the U.S. helicopter drone that the U.S. loses it's all accidents. We're all they just keep flying into birds. There's just loads of birds. Iran packed with birds. Most people don't know this. So yes, Trump clearly losing it, getting more and more furious. Iran has, especially the U.S., but kind of the world by the balls with their closing of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. doesn't seem to have any plan other than blow up civilians, just keep targeting schools, hospitals, bridges. Trump is now outwardly saying bridges, power plants, just things that will harm people, even when it's not military installations, because I assume, don't know. They've blown up everything military that in Iran that they can find, I think. And now they don't know where these things are being shot. Thank you, M. Dagtech, for supporting the show. Also, Let's see. Angry Prol over on Rumble. Thank you for supporting the show as well. Says Lee, you forgot to mention the recently the Real News Network did a follow-up article on East Palestine, Ohio. I have not seen the follow-up on East Palestine, but yes, East Palestine continues to struggle with the ramifications, the ripple effects of the horror show there. But yes, I should cover that again. An update on East Palestine and the health impacts of that train derailment and then intentional burn off of toxic chemicals. Anyway, to go back to Trump, here he is admitting to other crimes because he's really terrible at not admitting to all of his crimes because he doesn't he cares so little as to what's legal and what he should be allowed to do that he doesn't know what's a crime and what's not, what's illegal and what's not. And so he's like proud of a lot of it. And of course, in his brain, he could never be prosecuted for anything. And when he is, it doesn't matter. Like he was prosecuted for rape or at least lying about it. And it didn't, is he in jail? Is he in jail right now? You tell me. Anyway, here he is attempting to arm Iranians. But actually, I should preface this before I play it with, keep in mind, when before the U.S. started the war with Iran and it was just the protests going on in Iran, you remember all the people saying, oh, it's just legitimate. It's just grassroots protesters and the Iran government keeps killing them all. Well, here you go. Here's Donald Trump.
They don't have guns.
Oh, yeah. And for some odd reason, they're playing music behind this clip. I don't know. I don't know. What is the point of that? Why do people do that? Because C-SPAN's not going to get you for copyright. So I have no idea why people play crap music. So I apologize for that. But
they don't have guns. We sent some guns, but the group that was supposed to give, which I said would happen to my people, I said it, I called it exactly. We sent guns, a lot of guns. They were supposed to go to the people so they could fight back against these thugs. You know what happened? The people that they sent them to kept them because they said, what a beautiful gun. I think I'll keep it.
So not only is he admitting to this horror show of just arming like the entire Iranian population, so hoping they'll shoot their government. So he's admitting to those crimes, but he also is admitting that the U.S. is the U.S. government committing these crimes they're just idiots. They're just like, here, take a bunch of guns. What? They didn't give it to the people. We thought they were going to give it all away and they didn't do it. Like the misunderstanding of anything going on in that region is just epic. But then you just have him being like, we gave them a lot of guns and they kept them. We didn't know they were going to keep. Oh, God, the idiocy. All right, we're gonna keep going here. I'm about to play a montage clip, I think created by Dropsite News, of just how much the U.S. government is a death cult in just a second. But I just wanted a couple of quick reminders. One, this is going to be a shorter show than usual due to the holiday weekend here. I'll probably just go a half hour or something. But also, I have live comedy shows coming up. I don't tour that much. So if you're thinking about going, this is your chance. I don't do a lot of touring anymore. I used to be on the road constantly. That's not my life anymore. So if you're thinking about coming to these shows, now's your chance. I'll be performing live in New York City and Los Angeles. Those are coming up in a few weeks. And the details and everything, dates, details, tickets, all that are at leecamp.com/schedule. Leecamp.com/schedule. John F. O'Donnell from Redacted Tonight will be performing on both shows with me. And in the New York show, Naomi Caravani from Redacted Tonight will also be on the show. Don't miss them. All right. Let's keep going here. This is put together by Dropsite News. If you're wondering just how much the U.S. government is a death cult, they put together just a brief few mentions of how much the U.S. government, specifically like Trump, Hegseth, and the like, talk about creating death around the world.
Death and destruction from the sky all day long. Death and destruction from above. Death and destruction. Sheer destruction for our radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. No stupid rules of engagement, no hesitation, no half measures, no more half measures, no politically correct wars, no quarter, no mercy, no apologies, no hesitation. Epic fury. Epic fury is different. Epic fury is laser focused. Epic fury, it hits home. Epic fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe. Epic fury, 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 epic fury. America is winning decisively, devastatingly, decisively, with brutal efficiency, methodically, ruthlessly, and overwhelmingly. Overwhelmingly. We're doing it overwhelmingly, and we're doing it decisively, unrelentingly, unapologetically, utterly dominant, total dominance.
Okay, you get the point. I'm not going to play the whole 5 minutes or whatever. That was all Hegseth. I think later they've got a couple from Rubio or something. But these people are unhinged, and they're children on top of just being psychopaths, which I think we need to be using that word a lot more. We need to be using the word terrorist a lot more. These are psychopath terrorists, but they're also children, and they show it again and again and again. They have not matured intellectually, but they haven't matured emotionally either. These are psychopathic children, and they show it. It's not really covered up much. But they are obsessed with creating death, with murdering children, with murdering those working in hospitals to prove how big their dick is. And it really is strikingly horrific. Strikingly horrific how these psychopath terrorists think. But this is impacting, and later I'm gonna in a few minutes I'm gonna bring you. You guys know the impact on oil. You've seen the gas prices. Gas prices in the U.S. already above $4. They were $2 something when this thing started. Gas prices, oil prices around the globe have doubled. So you know that stuff. I'm gonna bring you the story about fertilizer, which is another key component. That is, the prices are going to have major impacts around the world, also due to this conflict. That's in just a couple of minutes, but the rest of the world is starting to see if they haven't before, starting to see what's going on here. And here's just a couple of the world leaders talking about how bad things are getting and going to get. This was put together by Breakthrough News. Starts off with Keir Starmer, then switches to Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia. Anyway. Sorry, I'll start over.
This will not be easy. It is now clear that the impact of this war will affect the future of our country.
The war in the Middle East has caused the biggest spike in petrol and diesel prices in history. Australia is not an active participant in this war, but all Australians are paying higher prices because of it. If you can switch to catching the train or bus or tram to work, do so. That builds our reserves and it saves fuel for people who have no choice but to drive. The months ahead may not be easy.
The next part of the challenge that we were facing was the supply and the pricing of petroleum products. Our authorities are all continuing to find new sources for the supply. And although we cannot be assured right now of the supply, we can be sure that at least for 45 days, we will be all right.
Efficient. That was the head. That last one was the head of the Philippines, for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching it. But yeah, world leaders are basically telling everybody, hey, stop driving. We're screwed. We're running out of fuel. He said we'd be fine for 45 days. So clearly they're going to be fine in the Philippines. But you know, one place in the world that has not had difficulty so far, despite it being the number one importer of oil or of oil from Iran. So far, China not having too much of an issue because they've been preparing for this for years. And I've mentioned this before, but now even the New York Times is covering it. This is not, the title is, "This is not China's war, but Beijing started preparing for it years ago." China has stockpiled increasingly large amounts of oil. It has pursued renewable sources of energy like solar, wind, and hydropower so aggressively that its demand for refined oil, diesel, and gasoline is falling, and it has harnessed technology to reduce its reliance on the foreign-sourced raw materials that go into the massive output of its factories. Basically, Trump came to power the first time around, and China, if they weren't before that, China went, oh, things are getting ugly in the United States. They were assholes before, but now they're super, super dumb assholes. Oh, shit. And they immediately ramped up their efforts to create green energy and get off the necessity of oil that could somehow be controlled by the United States. Thank you, Denise, for supporting the show. I do not frown upon super chats. Thank you, guys. And so they've been working. China's been working to switch to green energy in so many ways. And I've covered this before. They create 5 nuclear power plants worth of green energy per week. And that now green energy, because like solar panels can't pump out the same amount of energy all the time like nuclear power plants can. So it actually does not pump out 5 nuclear power plants worth of energy per week. However, they pump out 1 nuclear power plant of energy per week. And that's for every 5. And they're creating 5 new ones, the equivalent of 5 new ones per week. Like, it's an immense amount of green energy so that the United States and Iran and other countries can't cut it off. Like, the United States couldn't just bomb Iran and all of a sudden China doesn't have their oil. They've been getting ready for this for a while. Here's continued from the New York Times. China has doubled down on policies to build up local industries, in turn strengthening its global dominance over resources and supply chains. A decade ago, China was the world's biggest market for internal combustion engine cars. Today, it is the top market for electric vehicles. China used to be the largest buyer of foreign-sourced petrochemicals, the raw materials derived from oil that are used to make plastic, metal, rubber components, and other crucial ingredients in the goods its factories churn out. Now it uses mostly domestic coal to make certain chemicals like methanol and synthetic ammonia. Government planning and investment were crucial to those advances. This is the New York Times. Despite how much anti-China propaganda the New York Times pumps out, this is the New York Times admitting that China's been preparing for this and is prepared for this. And did you notice that last phrase they had in there? I'm not sure. For those of you in the United States, I know not all of you are. For those of you in the United States, you might not have heard this phrase before. But it's 2 words. It's not even that complicated, but they use it in China. It's called let's see if I can pronounce this right. Government planning. I don't know what, like, it sounds incredible. Apparently, the government gets together and they plan, like, going forward for the people to be able to do better. Like, they get together and they're like, this type of thing will help our people like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So again, I think that might be Chinese. I'm not sure whether what language those words come from, but government planning. I know it's hard to pronounce, but yeah, so they use this thing that I assume they came up with. I don't know who came up with it, but this government planning thing, and they prepare for the future. It's just wild. It's fucking nuts. And it really does frustrate U.S. government officials because they're like, what's happening? They're doing planning. What? And they get really angry and Hegseth and everything. I mean, you saw they just yelled death a bunch. Trump tweets out, fuck you or whatever. And That's what happens because the U.S. government is like, where did they get all this planning from? And they flip out. But yeah, China's been getting ready for this. And anyway, let's it's still on the topic of Iran. Professor Morandi continues to go on one show after another, obliterating pathetic Western hosts. This one is The Times, which is a British outlet. And this is the Times radio that he's on. And most of it pretty much speaks for itself. But Professor Morandi, a well-known Iranian professor, and he kind of, he doesn't officially speak on behalf of Iran, but he does speak as an Iranian defending Iran and their motivations, etc. But here he is on the Times radio, and the host seems baffled by what he's talking about.
How much longer can Iran sustain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Indefinitely.
Because it harms your economy too, doesn't it?
For us, it is a fight for survival. For you, it is a fight to sustain the Epstein class and ethno-supremacism in Palestine.
Why do you keep bringing up? Why do you bring up Jeffrey Epstein in this context? What's the logical leap there?
It's very clear. It's very clear what class of people are in charge in your countries. That class of people are the people who have control. They're the ones who own the media. They're the ones who control the government. They are the ones who start unprovoked wars time after time. This is not the first war that you've imposed upon this region, or Iran for that matter. And we just saw yesterday a key American anti-terrorist official resigned, saying the truth that we all knew, but you tried to hide. And that is, Iran was no threat to the United States, and that this war was carried out because of the Israeli regime and its powerful lobby. So what I'm saying is basically what he is saying. That powerful lobby is the Epstein.
The last word was Epstein class, but got cut off there. But yeah, I love these fucking clowns in mainstream media who are like, what is the Epstein class? What are you talking about here with the Epstein class? Yeah, all the psychopaths at the top who were at the Epstein parties. You know, the pedo terrorists, you know. How do you not know? But I love how he's just been eviscerating people. Okay, I'm going to keep moving because, as I said, this is a shorter than normal episode. Let's keep going here. This next clip is an Israeli official admitting on live television on Fox News that Israel has the right to hit civilian targets. Now, the phrase civilian targets is not a thing. They're not legally. There's no such thing as civilian target. If you're targeting a civilian, you're just committing a crime. You're committing a war crime. You're committing a crime against humanity. You're just all of the crimes. So saying we have permission to hit civilian targets is like saying I have permission to murder a child. Like, what? That doesn't... Who? What?
So we have the legitimacy to target those civilian targets. And I would advise the Iranian...
In case you misunderstood him, we have legitimacy. So we have the legitimacy. We have the permission to target civilian targets. He's talking about Israel attacking Iran.
So we have the legitimacy to target those civilian targets. And I would advise the Iranian to believe President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, because they have showed in the last month that they are capable of striking any target in Iran. And now we have to wait whether we will continue to play the game with the Strait of Hormuz. You know, it's what they are doing there. It's beyond imagination. You know, the blackmail. They actually collect money from countries in order to allow them to use the straits. We shouldn't allow this piracy 2026 to continue.
He's saying what they're doing is unbelievable, but we're going to strike civilian targets. We're going to murder babies in hospitals, but what they're doing is just wrong and unheard of. Really wrong. We just committed genocide in Gaza, and we continue to commit genocide. Every day now we commit genocide. Literally today, yesterday bombed a WHO car or vehicles. That was yesterday. Israel in Gaza. Israel continues to commit genocide in Gaza, but what Iran's doing is really wrong, and we can't allow it to continue. Okay, last story here. Like I said, shorter episode due to the holiday weekend, but this is an important story that from American Prospect that's getting not a lot of coverage. A lot of people talking about oil prices, not enough talking about fertilizer prices are skyrocketing. And keep in mind, Trump is the one causing all of this. I mean, Trump and the U.S. government. The U.S. government has been laying the groundwork for war with Iran for decades. But anyway, on Monday, the Iranian parliament passed a bill that would impose tolls on any ship passing through the Strait of Hormuz while banning U.S. and Israeli vessels from entering the strait. Iran already appears to be enforcing this new toll regime. At least one tanker ship is reportedly paid $2 million to get through the waterway. The Financial Times analyzed shipping data and found that at least 8 vessels had taken an unusual route through the strait last week, suggesting they may have received escorts. Fertilizer is made from 3 main components: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen-based fertilizers are made from synthetic nitrogen components like urea and ammonia, which are synthesized from natural gas. About 1/3 of the world's urea supply comes from the Middle East. Iran itself has the 3rd largest natural gas supply in the world, after only Russia and China, and Qatar is another major producer. According to the Fertilizer Institute, almost half of global urea exports come from the countries to the west of the Strait of Hormuz, and they transit through the waterway on their way to countries like the U.S. This strain on fertilizer prices is threatening farmers across the world, including here in the U.S. For farmers growing corn or wheat, fertilizer makes up between 1/3 and 1/2 of their operating costs. And that's before the prices skyrocketed. Just a month into the conflict, prices are already increasing significantly, and the timing couldn't be worse. American farmers, thank you, Catermolo, for supporting the show. American farmers are the biggest importers of urea in the world. At the end of February, just before the war began, the wholesale price of urea had a high-low spread of $460 to $480 per short ton. Just 1 week later, the price jumped to $520 to $620. And I checked before I started this live stream, it was about $620 to $680 now, I think. Fertilizer is bought and sold on a globally integrated market. So even if the U.S. isn't getting much of our fertilizer components from the Strait of Hormuz and the Middle East, it still impacts the cost of fertilizer. So U.S. farmers get fucked either way, whether we're getting it from there or not. Like if you're getting oil right now from places other than the Middle East, it doesn't change the price of oil shooting up. The price of oil shoots up everywhere. So even though we aren't getting most of the fertilizer components from the Middle East, our farmers are still screwed. As they just said, this means supply disruptions in one part of the world can cause prices to spike in other regions. In the U.S., food prices would likely increase, hitting Americans' wallets at a time when affordability is already top of mind. In other parts of the world, particularly regions already experiencing famine conditions, the impact is intertwined with survival, as food insecurity could reach record highs. The UN World Food Program estimates that if oil prices remain above $100 a barrel in mid-2026, so in a few months, the number of people experiencing food insecurity could rise by 45 million and reach a record high of 363 million people around the world. This is what Trump's doing to people around the world. The impact to poorer countries and poorer people around the world is massive, even as not only do they have nothing to do with this, but they're not even in the conversation about this war with Iran. Like, There's a lot of countries that aren't allying with the United States. They're not doing the bidding of the United States. They're not part of they're not even importing from Iran. And yet they are they will end up starving because of what Trump and the pedo terrorists, the psychopath terrorists at the top of this country are doing. This is what happens when you have a global market that's all intertwined, and Trump continues his insanity. And I don't like to make it just about Trump. Obviously, it is at his many ways it's at his whim. But like I said, the groundwork for war with Iran has been laid for decades. General Wesley Clark told us about the 7 countries in 5 years. That was 2001. That the Pentagon talked about attacking 7 countries, and Iran was the golden star at the top of that list that they wanted to attack. This has been ongoing for a long time to protect the petrodollar, secure the petrodollar. Of course, it's had the complete opposite impact, which is also the topic of the upcoming Unredacted tonight, where the U.S. has lost. The U.S. has lost this war in every way. If you actually know the aims, not the bullshit aims that we've been told, but the real aims of the U.S. empire in this war, they've already lost. If there's a ceasefire tomorrow, they've lost. It doesn't matter if there's a ceasefire. There may be a ceasefire before that Unredacted tonight episode airs. Won't matter. The U.S. has epically lost. The U.S. empire has. But the sad thing is, it doesn't just mean that the U.S. empire dwindles a little faster. It means an impact for so many people around the world. All right, I'm going to wrap this show up. It's a short episode due to the holiday weekend, but I would love for you guys to think it's worth it to support this show at the cost of a beer a month. 1 beer a month. That's over at realleecamp.substack.com. That's over at patreon.com/leecamp as well. You also, when you sign up, get my ebook, Dangerous Ideas, which a lot of people enjoy. According to one source, it's the best book ever written. My mom said that. And she is a well-known book critic. Well-known by our family. But yes, patreon.com/leecamp and realleecamp.substack.com, or leecamp.net is my locals page where it's a community you can hang out. And Andre says he can afford a beer a month, so he's going to throw me a beer. Thank you, Andre. Love you guys for fighting for what's right in this world right now. You're the best. Thank you. Keep fighting despite the suppression, despite all, my TV show canceled, YouTube ban, TikTok ban, Spotify podcast ban. I continue to fight thanks to your help, and I know you guys do as well. So I will see you Wednesday. We had to move Government Secrets. Was going to be last week. Now it's going to be this week. So I will see you Wednesday for Government Secrets. And don't forget live shows, New York, LA, leecamp.com/schedule. Go there to learn more and keep fighting.